6-point week. Did you ever doubt it? I might have a little bit on this show last week. I thought it was just too hopeful to go up against two clubs with explosive players, but alas, FC Cincinnati proved Atlanta and St. Louis were not up to the task in what was one of the more fun homestands, I think, in recent memory. The crowd was just like full of life. Everyone seemed relaxed, and that in control feeling, I guess, is probably what I felt the most. I was talking to fans before the match, and you all have shifted into a pretty optimistic bunch. I mean, for good reason. I imagine FC Cincinnati has depth and key players that are producing regardless of midweek, weekend. The only thing that could have made Saturday better would have been a Miami draw, but I guess we can't get everything we want in life. These Cincy Miami games, though, are starting to look mighty important coming up. So we've got that to look forward to. Let's get this show started, though. You are listening to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. I'm Boston Brazel, and I'm joined tonight by Bryan Weigel, Justin Blair. And what is this? Mr. Master of Divinity, Coach Goff, is cross-potting it. Welcome in, sir. Congrats on the tassel turning. You do that, right? You turn tassels?
No, I didn't even get to wear a cap. I get a hood. That's what they give you in the master's degree. I have no idea why.
Well, it showed my poor education there. But glad to have you on the main show, man. We might be a little bit smarter. Coach's segment's going to be kind of weird tonight, you know. Normally, we all get to hide, have an extra beer while your video's playing. So I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. All right, we'll get Justin in here. Justin, you predicted a pretty strong week, didn't you?
I did. I think I had us tying with Atlanta. I can't remember how I went with Atlanta. I thought that would be a slump with it being midweek, but yeah, I definitely had us. I think it was 3-2 prediction for the match, and actually got a chance to get down to the Bailey for a match. That was amazing. Got to go with one of my best friends. Got to see a lot of cool people in the FC Cincinnati land.
That's awesome. Shining a new mic there. Is that a new mic?
It is, courtesy. Thank you. Courtesy of the two Bryans on the show. Bryan Bietenbach hooked me up with it, and Mr. Bryan Weigel made sure that it made to my house. So
I gotta send that Venmo there, pal.
So it's all Bietenbach. Thank you.
Forgot about that.
Yeah, it's about time I get an upgrade. This mic was going out for me. You guys remember that for like 4 or 5 episodes, and somehow I've saved it. But its time is coming for sure. All right, Bryan, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing swell. I'm so proud. I had a tremendous weekend.
I saw something.
If you didn't see on Facebook, my boys, my LSO United boys, won the Liberty Cup. I was super proud of them. Definitely overperformed their coaching, and man, I just couldn't be more proud of those boys. They put together some results. The last day, they need to win 2 games. And they went both 5-1 and dominated. So I just couldn't be more proud and happy of those guys. So heck of a weekend.
Awesome. Well, congrats. Are you done for a bit, or you start coaching again soon?
I am done for at least probably another month and a half. I've been literally coaching straight through since March 2023, and I'm going to take the summer off. I'm going to get little Bryan to some other clinics and stuff. So I'm gonna be here with you all.
He wins. He goes out on top. He's retired.
Go on some vacations too. Let's do that. I'm ready.
Nice. Well, thanks for joining me tonight, guys. It should be a fun one. You know who else is joining us each and every week? Our awesome sponsor, Apollo Home. If you have not yet had your AC inspected prior to this summer, call Apollo or schedule an appointment online at apollohome.com. If you ever have any HVAC, plumbing, or electrical needs, reach out to Apollo or give them a call or book online at apollohome.com. We appreciate them for supporting us in this 2024 season. All right, let's get into your best and worst. Dig deep, see if you can find a worst on a 6-point week. Bryan Weigel, we'll start with you, sir.
I'm just going to say I love our new midfielder, Miles Robinson, and his efforts in the midfield to win the ball and get a shot for Atlanta. I think he should be starting in the midfield for Team USA in the Copa America this year, because he's totally proven that he can do everything that needs to be done. Coach, you're wrong. I'm right on this. So just check it. No, super. That was a hell of a play by Robinson. It just shows you the type of guy he is and how aware of the game that top level guy like him is. Hopefully we can keep him through this summer, but I also want him to have a great Copa America coming up. So that's my best of the week versus Atlanta. My worst, I guess, is also a best, but just getting to see the gentleman from St. Louis, Edward Lowen. Hopefully I said that right. Probably not. But see him return to the pitch following, I think he had an injury, and then his wife was diagnosed with a form of brain cancer. I guess it kind of gone silent, and they released it this past week. It's very, very great to see him back out on the pitch. Things are so much more important than stupid rivalries and things like that. So hopefully wish him and his wife the best. Love seeing FC Cincinnati take some respect. I know the St. Louis soccer circles were really thankful to Cincinnati acknowledging what was going on there with that household. But just tremendous to see, life finding a way and getting back on the pitch and being together as a group versus enemies all the time.
Well spoken, sir. All right, Justin, give me your best and worst, and we'll put some of yours in chat up on the screen and talk about those.
Yeah, my best is just going to be the win streaks. 6-game win streak for FC Cincinnati, and I believe it's 5 games now for FC Cincinnati 2, 4 or 5. Incredible stuff by both teams. I'm obviously more surprised for FC Cincinnati 2. It's really good to see them turn around, get some of those young guys good experience, and it seems that they have a system going forward. Worst news, I'm probably going to go with the news that we heard about our good friend at Norden, Chris Marshall. Tough news for him. I know that he's excited. A little bit of a health issue, but he's excited to be welcoming a new granddaughter, and I'm super pumped for him. And hopefully everything goes well with the procedure and everything that he needs to do, get back in good health.
I saw him before the game on Saturday. Wished him well down in the First Financial Club where we were hanging out, and I echo that. Hope he's doing very, very well. All right, Sean Pace, you're first on YouTube, so we'll put you up here. Best, Acosta's vision and passing, and his worst, Matt Miazga's back pass. We knew it was coming. It had to come. P. Miller on YouTube, echoing it as his worst is we scored 4 goals. Clever way of putting it there. And best, 1 by 2. That's right. Ended the streak of the 1-goal wins. Jose, all goals from different players, including an own goal, is his best. Worst, nitpicking, but Miazga didn't have the best of nights, and I'm not just talking about the goal. All right. I guess, Jay, we'll throw you in here for good measure. Lucho winning 2 headers is his best. Worst, still not being able to buy either of those FCC2 jerseys because they are awesome. I agree. They are awesome. And as good as FCC2 is playing, they got me all jazzed up. I kind of want to put one on. All right, Coach, we'll throw it over to you.
My best is not only the FCC is winning and winning games 6 in a row, but they're doing it without their best team. Who would have thought without DeAndre Yedlin or Alvis Powell, with Brett Housey starting, without any forwards, without Bupenza. I love Bryan laughing because I threw Alvis Powell in there. Without Obi being back to his best, although I think he's definitely getting there and quick, FCC is still stringing together wins. My worst, outside of the fact that Justin Blair is trolling me wearing that Villa jersey, finished 5th and get 4th and get to play in some low life league called the Champions League, whatever. But outside of that, my worst is this team not making runs inside the box. We're digging deep here, right? 2 wins, but the number of times that you see Luca Orishano get the ball on the left and look up to serve the ball in, and everybody's just standing around being like, "Ooh, what's he gonna do?" and nobody's making a near post run, is absolutely, as a coach, driving me crazy.
So, Justin, my God, I'll get you it right. Is Aston Villa like the FC Cincinnati of the Premier League? Like total trash for like 3 years and catch fire?
No. It's like what Chicago Fire haven't done yet. So, obviously at we go back to like 1900s, Villa was on top of the world, and since then not been great. I mean, the chant is still we conquered Europe in 1982. So that's our last trophy of any significance at all.
Congrats for being fourth.
Finally, Unai Emery's taking us to the promised land.
We got a really big contingent of villains in the city, so that's neat. We are a Cincinnati soccer show, and I remember like 8 or 9 years ago on Facebook seeing a bunch of villains get together at Ryan House.
Yeah. I found out. I actually ran into somebody on the way out, and he said, yeah, they all watch the games at Ryan House. So I'm definitely checking that out next year.
All right, can I pull this show back across the ocean?
Cincinnati soccer talk, baby. We're all family. Come on.
to the proper side of the ocean, where MLS reigns free. My best playing, I think FC Cincinnati is playing as the table would suggest. They are playing like a first or second place team, and they didn't show any major weaknesses, I didn't think, this week to Atlanta. They didn't show any major weaknesses to St. Louis, and I think everybody was sitting pretty comfy in TQL Stadium, regardless of the first minute or last minute. So props to FCC for playing up to their potential. Worst, I think. Did you guys see this interview? They asked Kubo, who did his soccer ball under the shirt pregnancy celebration, and he goes, "Yeah, I forgot to do it when I scored my first goal." So the baby's like due pretty soon in August. And so shout out to Kubo for waiting till his second goal celebration.
Boston, it's his third kid, and as I think Bryan will tell you, at that point, like everything runs together, nothing matters. It's just like, I'm just impressed that he even realized he was having a baby at all, but instead of just having another kid show up one day.
Yeah, but he had to go home after that first goal, and she's like, "What the heck? Where was my celebration?"
No, and I can't wait for the day that Boston is hosting the show with the soccer ball under his shirt. That's what I can't wait for.
I'm already there, man. That's why I switched to zero sugar Sprite tonight, trying to lose a little bit of that soccer
I didn't know that was a thing.
All right, let's get into the first match of the week. We'll start with the 1-0 win, FC Cincinnati versus Atlanta, TQL Stadium. We got something new, something exciting. I think fans were wondering, when would Kevin Kelsy get his first start, and here it is. Coach, we'll start with you since you're the expert. What did you think? Did he live up to the hype starting in minute 1?
He lived up to my hype, because I'm not expecting him to come out and dominate the league, and I hope most of you all aren't either. I'm expecting him to be a big presence, to do battle with the center backs, and to free up space for others. And he has shown, the ability to do that pretty consistently. His hold-up play is pretty good, as long as you're not asking him to like have soft feet, although he's shown a bit of that as well. I think he has a lot of growth edges that I could get into, but I will just stop at saying, for a teenage coming to America for the first time and playing in a new league, he has lived up to all the hype and a little bit more for me by scoring those 2 early goals.
I'm a little scared because I've seen multiple articles this week, one on MLS.com, saying FC Cincinnati has their Brandon Vasquez replacement. It's just so early, Justin. Do you think it's too early for that hype, or are you gulping it down?
No, not at all. But I do agree with Coach. I think he's definitely shown his physical presence, and he gets at it with players. You don't usually see that. That's always the moniker of coming to MLS, right? How physical this league is. But he seems to welcome that, and that's really fresh air. Now it's got a ways to go to be a Vasquez. But he is staying on side, so he's got that leg up on Vasquez in his early FCC career.
I'll tell you what.
Sorry, shade, homie.
We were desperate for goals, man. That's burned in my skull.
Vasquez and triple X. That's what he is. I don't know about you, Coach. The first thing I've been noticing out of Kelsy is I wouldn't have thought the teams would have respected him as much so early. You saw it in both matches, holding 2 center backs. Especially that last game, the last game of the weekend, holding 3 players so Santos could get a run on the far side and 1v1 versus Acosta. Like I know things will change with scouting reports and learning more about the player, but you have to respect that profile.
Yeah, I don't think that part will change, because I think when you see him walk up off the start, when you see him walk out with some little kid or come in and you're a 6'6" center back like Tim Parker and you're looking up at him, I think right away, I don't think it matters who it is. You're thinking like, I'm going to come in, I'm going to win this header over this guy. I'm going to battle him. There's an ego there. So I think that ultimately he's going to have a gravity just because of his size. And I think it's only going to get worse for other teams as people realize, oh, he's not even just a big body. He also has some soft feet too. Now, I think what will get harder for Kelsy is right now he only wants lobs to the rim. He just wants to alley-oop dunk on people. He just backs up. He just floats. It's like, just stand it up here and dunk. He never makes that hard near post run, and he's got to figure that part out.
So that's the one thing I mentioned on our Slack. There was 2 chances in that Atlanta game where if he would have just continued another 6-8 feet, he would have been right there for a tap in. I want to contradict your jump later on in the game. I think there's like a 75th minute pass later on in the St. Louis game where he held it up, pushed off a guy and released a cracker of a shot. But I think that's a great shout where that's a part of the game that is going to develop. And how many times this year have we been saying, guys, wingers or wingbacks, make the run to the end line, and they were doing it, and it just breaks my heart that he wasn't there for that.
Yeah. Well, just to clarify, Kelsy did score in the 7th minute with a header. That's 2 headers, both goals so far coming via the top, not the feet. But Bryan, good point. You did have one later in the week. We'll touch on that. That play was pretty cool though. Miles Robinson started it, if I'm remembering it right, and then presses high up into the middle of the field, takes possession, dives into the penalty box, rips a shot. St. Louis, and I'm going to steal this from the Flyover Footy podcast, in their words, crashes the box because they're so worried about everybody after that initial shot. But the rebound goes out to probably the worst person on earth it could go out to for St. Louis, and Acosta gobbles it up and then chips it back, and then it's game over right then and there. But mainly because, and I want to talk about this, mainly because Atlanta.
Wait, is anybody going to tell Boston?
What?
I'm so confused.
All 3 of us are giggling right now.
What?
What game are you talking about?
Stick to your strong suit and pronounce some names there, Boston.
Went right from the Atlanta game, 7th minute, right on through. I love it.
Sorry. I'm confused. I'm confused as you guys are, I guess.
So, yes, you're correct. That happened in game 2 as well versus St. Louis. But in this game, yes, ball bounces back from Atlanta to Acosta.
Oh, you're right. You're right. I am getting them confused.
Here's the cool part about that whole play is I don't know if, and Coach, you might be able to talk about this a little bit. I'm still giggling. Just the fact that
what happens when you play
Acosta. Well, Acosta makes that great. He stops that ball on the line. You see Dax McCarty freaking out, which was hilarious. And then Lucho just picks his head up real quick, like doesn't give away anything. He sees Kelsy at that back post, and Kelsey's making that little run, chips at back post. I mean, is that something that they work on, or is that just smart IQ for Kelsy and Lucho, Coach?
Well, I think the tendency for Kelsy is to always float to the back post. And I think that any sort of player that is good at creating goals or playmaking is going to realize when you have a player like that, anytime you can stand it up to him, it's going to give him a better shot, even than whipping it in. Like if you listen to interviews with Christian Benteke from DC, he says, I don't want them to swing the ball in, lob it up because I can time it. I can go and beat anybody in there. If you swing it in, my timing has to be perfect. So I think you have to vary it up. Kelsy is going to have to learn to make that darting near post run sometimes, or else the center backs will just push him wide of that far post and not let him get a run. But I think this is Lucho being incredibly game intelligent and understanding who he has on the back post, and then Kelsy just doing what he prefers to do anyway.
Well, now that I've got my practice down, I'm going to use that in the second half of the show. All right, guys. When we get to the St. Louis game. But I think what I really wanted to get to was that Diego Amada leaving so early in the 16th minute is probably the real killer. I mean, we score fast. That's got to be a gut punch. And then your version of a Lucho Acosta goes off the field that early. And honestly, just didn't look like his heart was in it. Atlanta fans are worried that his heart's not in it at all this season.
Yeah, I mean, particularly they had the run of form was 5 games winless for Atlanta. So I mean, that's got to be an absolute gut punch. You're already traveling on the road to Cincinnati, which is not an easy place to win. You already concede a goal early, which doesn't always happen for FC Cincinnati. And then your main guy is out, your difference maker, your playmaker. And Yakamaki is just playing on a quick turnaround too. So now he's got to overextend too. And you saw Yakamakis did not have the heart for the game either. So yeah, I think there's some concerns. I think a lot of Atlanta fans probably are ready to move on from Thiago Almada. I think he's a fantastic player, probably the best player they could ever get. But right now, the system isn't really there. And that's a guy that you can bring in a lot of pieces from that kind of money.
So, Coach, and I don't want to dwell on this Atlanta game too much, but we saw this past week that Gary Smith in Nashville was canned due to his style of play. I think the next coach on the hot seat is Gonzalo Pineda for Atlanta. There's too much talent there. I mean, you saw those guys they were bringing. I mean, yes, it was midweek, but they're bringing on amazing pieces throughout the whole game, like Mascara coming in. You have Lo Janite, who I'm a big fanboy for Lo Janite. I can't say his damn name right, but Coach, I mean, there's something fundamentally wrong with that team. I would love to hear your thoughts on how, what they might be doing wrong.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, heart goes out to Atlanta because, I mean, you have to go and play on natural grass, which everyone knows you're more likely to get injured on. And normally they can play in the safe confines of their home stadium where nobody gets hurt. Obviously, I'm kidding, and nobody ever wants to see anybody get hurt. But I think, Bryan, what you're hitting on is a big issue that I 100% agree with without dwelling on it too much. When you have that amount of talent, you need to be competing for trophies, not just like begging to get into the playoffs. And I get there's still a lot of the season left. But even with an underperforming Thiago Almada or a player or two that drops off, they have enough talent to compensate for that and still finish 6th or 7th at a trot.
They play hero ball. Like, I mean, so many 1v1s trying to beat somebody, Seba on the right, trying to beat a fullback and then maybe getting a ball to Giamakis. Maybe Thiago Almada coming deep outside the penalty area to get the ball. It drives me crazy that they can't get their attacking players in good positions. I mean, they're taking ridiculous shots. But, I mean, I like it right now. We got 2 1-0 wins against them. But I look at that team and every time I think we're on Slack or Twitter, I just go, I just don't know how these guys can't put it together.
Yeah, no, they definitely should be better in their record. They spend money. They've got a decent, what I'd call decent ownership that's invested. But aside from that, they're way underperforming. And I do counter Justin. I would get rid of the coach and keep the player.
The real question is, how long are we going to be able to hold on to our assistant coaches? That's what I'm worried about.
Yeah, for all, particularly Kenny Arena. I think Dom Kinnear probably has seen his fair share of matches at the head man spot, but Kenny Arena definitely needs a shout.
Yeah, why leave though? I mean, you got it good sitting in Cincinnati. We just got to keep reminding them every game. Just go up and thank your assistant coaches. That's what we'll do. That'll be the big plan. Pat Noonan on this one was a little bit critical of the team performance in the post match. I guess I don't. Is this just Pat being Pat? Because I didn't think it was that bad. Coach, you're the expert, I guess. What do you think?
I was right with Pat Noonan in this one. I thought like the way that FC Cincinnati scored so early and then just seemed to sit back. And especially when Almada went out, you heard a lot of people saying, well, Atlanta looked better without Almada. Well, actually, I think that just FCC looked worse. I think that they all took a collective sigh and was like, oh, great. We can just win this game. We can just pace this out. We don't have to worry about it. And they all took their foot off the gas. They played so slow. Lots of sloppy turnovers. It was not, catastrophic by any means. Atlanta didn't come out and create chance after chance or anything, but FC Cincinnati should have been able to go and win that game by 2 or 3. And they just took their foot off the accelerator. And you got to remember, as a coach, when you're in the midst of a win streak, which at that point was 5, which is still a really good win streak, you're still trying to keep your guys motivated tonight and try to let them know that you're not even just playing for a supporter shield or for whatever, but you have to be motivated for the next game. And I think especially when Pat looked at that and was like, oh, and there's another one coming in a few days against a high pressing team who's going to want to come in and prove they can win on the road, which they haven't yet. I think Pat's pulling all those right strings. So I was grateful to hear him come out and say, like, not good enough.
I mean, you also put in Malik Pinto and Sergio Santos in the 60th minute, I think, in that match. So, I mean, we weren't going on with our top talent. I mean, you had Pinto, Santos, Halsey, Hagelin, and Assad off the bench. So we didn't really have the tools to turn the screws. And I think that's just due to our injuries right now. But the thing to me is we gave up like 0.25 XG in the second half. And with a team like that, that's incredible.
Yeah, it kind of reminds you of the Orlando match. Different situation, but you definitely felt that, exhale for FC Cincinnati once they got the advantage.
And I think that's the thing in both of those matches. It wasn't just the exhale. I get your point, Bryan, that it wasn't like you were also rolling with your top talent for the whole match. But, like you had Obi Wobodo and Pavel Buka, who are really good at caring for the ball, just giving away some simple passes, getting caught on the ball from behind, things like that you expect a guy who's tuned in and like ready to play and fully focused just to not have that happen. Again, not catastrophic because they still locked them down. But I just think as a coach, pulling on that lever to say like, hey, I'm glad we won, but this was too sloppy, I think is a good thing.
Well, I got to keep moving because there's two matches. It's been a stretching these muscles again. And normally we just have one to preview, so I'm going too slow. But second half of our show is sponsored by Beyond Exercise, a local physical therapy and fitness business that helps anyone get active and stay active. In fact, they helped Nick Hagelin and Brandon Vasquez with their physical therapy this past off season and strength training needs. Ask the fellows at Beyond Exercise about their ACL injury prevention screening, which was piloted with both Nick and Brandon. Learn more at gobeyondexercise.com. All right, let's get into it. 3-1 win over St. Louis again at home. FC Cincinnati starting 11 looked really weird with the forwards up top being Kubo and Dato Valenzuela. This one was a weird lineup on both sides. St. Louis also had at least 6 main starters out of the match or resting. Most of them came in this one, but both coaches rotating. I guess we'll start with you, Bryan, since we've been putting you last. What'd you think?
I thought that we did very well in the midfield holding play. I think for how many plaudits Bradley Carnell has been given over his time, I cannot believe he didn't go after Brett Halsey. This is a team, St. Louis, that loves attacking down their flanks and kicking that ball in. And we have a clear, I like Halsey, but we have a weakness there defensively, okay? And to not exploit that, to go up the middle versus 2 of the best, if not the best midfield pairing in Major League Soccer is mind-blowing. Like how poorly coached and poorly managed that game plan was. First time I literally was just watching this. I don't know if I've ever seen like where our team after like 15, 20 minutes, like, yeah, we figured these guys out and we knew how to attack them going forward. And I just scratched my mind for a club that was first or second in the West this year. How have these guys fallen off a cliff like this so greatly? And that's a testament to Pat Noonan and Chris Albright and the ownership of FC Cincinnati to keep investing in themselves to improve. We've been saying this time and time again. Yeah, you can bunker back. And even Bradley Carnell was saying this in his press conference, like, oh, it's tough to break down a low block team and deep. What the hell were you watching? Like, this guy's clueless. I've just never seen that in Major League Soccer before. I'm sorry if there's a St. Louis fan watching, but that was one of the most clueless coaching performances I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah, St. Louis fans will tell you that he should have won Coach of the Year last year. No, all kidding aside, I think that he was a bit off on that, right? I mean, I think it was Flyover Footy had put out there that they had like 80% of their progressive balls come from their wings. And then this match, they completely fell for the bait and went right into the heart of FC Cincinnati's stronghold. I mean, Kubo is probably the guy you want to target in that situation. And then obviously, Kubo slotted in there late, but you get what I'm saying. Halsey was definitely, like you were right, Bryan. Halsey was definitely the guy to attack in that situation. They just couldn't do it. And that really helped FC Cincinnati because Klaus became irrelevant because he's having to play more centrally instead of being somebody that kind of just roams in the box and finds his spot. He's got to be able to connect play because of the pressure they were facing.
Well, you talk about, coaching and being out coached. What Pat Noonan did in this one, at least to my eye, was he moved the line of confrontation with the midfield consistently high, but he did not have his team press all out still. Basically, whenever the ball was with Berkey, normally they would organize themselves and start to squeeze space right away. And they didn't do that. They basically said, okay, Berkey, go ahead and play it over top of us. And then because the wing backs were pressed up onto St. Louis's outside backs, then it looked to be a direct ball into the wings or into one of the forwards. And our center backs are so good at just eating that up. Now, there were adjustments made at halftime that I thought actually Carnell, started to pinch Jackson in like a midfielder in build so that he could receive the ball between the lines. And I thought that caused FCC some problems. So it wasn't total, just like one-sided coaching. But I do think we've seen where FCC is always weak, not just against St. Louis, is the wingbacks. It doesn't matter who's playing there because FC Cincinnati's wingbacks get so high so quickly. That is where the space always is. And so to come in and not have that game plan to begin with, that this is how we're going to attack in behind those wingbacks and just assume what's going to happen is FCC is going to press us and we'll just play through it. Which it seemed like St. Louis's first half game plan was, I think that's unconscionable as a coach. I think that, again, you have to come in with a better game plan than that. But that said, second half adjustments, I thought if I had to, keep a boxing scorecard, I might have actually said that Carnell pipped Noonan a little bit, just mildly in the second half in the coaching category.
We scored 2 goals in the second half, coach. 2.
But if the game was about just what happened on the scoreboard, if you only won if you scored more on the scoreboard, no possession though. Possession, I don't know. You're right.
Is it they scored twice in the second half? Is that when they're 2:40 when you have to make 45th minute subs, whatever they call it, 46-minute subs? I mean,
yeah, but once they get the second goal, St. Louis had to start sending everybody up. I mean, there's no point at that point.
So. You just look how they defend. Okay, and the first goal with the penalty to Lucho Acosta, having again 1v1. Like, why you're loading so many guys in the middle there? Why wouldn't you try to kick some more support out against the league MVP? I just don't understand why you're trying to go man to man with Lucho Acosta repeatedly throughout the match.
I think that was a mistake by the center back. I think there was a miscommunication there because he completely left his guy on an island with Lucho Acosta 1v1.
Hey, they can do that all day for all I care.
Yeah, that's still coaching because, I mean, you've seen it when Thiago Almada from the last game for the first 16 minutes, when you see FC Cincinnati play Messi or these guys that are MVP caliber players, Noonan comes in and the players know when this player is on the ball, you get 2 bodies around them right away. And if that player scores, it's a 35-yard wonder strike, like we saw in matchup 1 or whatever from Almada. It's not waltzing in, 1v1 with a winger, not even an outside back in on goal. So that's also a coaching, problem there. I said last year when people were talking about Carnell as coach of the year candidate because, what he has done with an expansion squad and how good is that? I said, first of all, it wasn't a true expansion squad in that he was coaching the team the year before that too. Right. And MLS Next Pro or whatever. And then second of all, we've seen it with Red Bulls time and time again. Like, teams can come out and press like crazy nonstop and punch above their weight, but their underlying numbers were terrible. Maybe not terrible, but not good. Certainly not first in the West. And you saw that as soon as he came up in a game against Sporting KC in the playoffs where he had to actually make tactical adjustments to try to win, he couldn't do it. And like we talked about earlier, it makes me really grateful that not only we have Pat Noonan, but we've been able to hold on to guys like Dom Kinnear and Kenny Arena, because this crew, all of those coaches working together, and I'll throw in the goalkeeper coach whose name eludes me at the moment, I think are just doing phenomenal work.
Paul Walker.
So one of my favorite lines from this past week, this weekend, was from one of the starting midfielders from St. Louis. How they were asked, like, what more could you have done to stop Lucho Acosta? And their response was, foul him more. That's hilarious.
I liked what the guy did on that, where we were just talking about the 1v1, just grabs him around the hip, just ride it, man. That's the only way you can stop him.
And I feel bad. Like, I know a lot of the St. Louis people we've kind of become buddies with over time, but I also loved just dominating that team. Seeing in, for the second goal with Lucho, just that awareness. This is what Boston was talking about earlier, that ricochet falls to Acosta, and then he slips that ball perfectly weighted through to Kubo. Kubo opens up his shoulders and just, beats Berkey before anybody kind of knows what's going on. Just having the players like that, that can recognize those mistakes. And I think there's where you see a little bit of deficiency from the famous Lutz Pfannenstiel, psychotic GM of St. Louis FC. They're just not built, I guess, with those playmakers yet. I mean, they're still a young team, but we also have guys that have been together for a while, and just the difference makers. I mean, it's not, I think they're chalking everything up to 1v1s and things like that, individual moments of brilliance, but still be able to pick out those passes, being in the right spots to do those goals. Cincinnati's just heads and shoulders above the 9th place team in the West, which is an accurate assumption of what I think they're probably going to be, unless they can get Marco Royce, whatever.
Well, we talked about it with Atlanta, so let's talk about it with St. Louis. You have a team that is ambitious, and
are they
money down in Atlanta, and then now you flip the script and you have St. Louis, who is the cheapest team in MLS, if I remember right. Is that just a byproduct of having a good year last year and keeping those players and negotiating on a budget, or does this team really need to go buy some pieces and spend some money and try to find DPs that will perform? It really is a tale of two teams, and we beat them both.
I mean, it may just be a solid risk analysis there. I mean, you're looking at a West that is completely chaos right now. There's really only 2 teams that you're competing with at the top. The rest of it is just a wash. Seattle's terrible. Vancouver, it doesn't really scare you all that much. LAFC clearly is in some kind of transition. So, it was working pretty well last year. You only lost a few pieces. You have Klaus, you have Leuven. Might want to run it back. Berkey's still on the contract. So maybe just a smart financial risk that they're taking and saying, hey, we can save funds for, when inevitably we lose Berkey or another piece.
I have a great idea. We'll trade him our difference maker, Sergio Santos.
Hey, Santos got a goal, didn't he?
I was so happy. Who wasn't happy for this guy? It's like when Corey Barrett scored. It's like everybody goes nuts. I mean, you love the guy. He runs hard 3/4 of the time. I mean, he gives that effort there for that tap in. Happy he didn't sky it, but again, it goes back to Kelsy. Okay, Kelsy holding off a guy. Santos knowing to make the right run. God, Lucho's that guy making that amazing pass.
Yeah.
For winning balls in the midfield, getting in those positions. It's just all around fun to take a victory lap on these guys.
I do like one thing about Santos. He does add just that pacey element that we haven't seen it work out too much yet.
He does.
He came in, and immediately one of the first plays after he came in was an over the top kick to Santos, in which he got on that ball and didn't do anything with it. But yeah, I mean, those are the plays we don't do without him, though. We don't try those. So one of these days, I think it's just going to be the right spark at the right time. I don't mind it off the bench.
We haven't had a forward, and I can't even remember, that can just take it from midfield, beat a line, and go. We have no pace outside of Santos.
Oh, president of Dom Baji fan club over here, big guy.
Okay, show me. There was that one run against Columbus, but they were set defensively. It wasn't like the center backs were playing high line. So that I do appreciate, especially later in a match, 70th minute, somebody like that. If he's up for it every time, I like seeing him out there. It's just there are some times that he's disconnected from what they want to do in that particular situation.
Gentlemen, if this was about pace and power, then every MLS squad would be going to recruit at the Olympics at the track and field events. It's not just about that. You have to be able to dribble and receive the ball and shoot and do things. Lucho made that goal. And the fact that Kelsy should have scored that goal, but he decided not to make a near post run. So it went all the way through to Santos. And good for Santos for being in the right spot and for not missing it from a yard out, because I think we've seen that before. But actually, I don't want to give Santos too hard of a time, because he actually showed a little bit of an ability in this match to connect some play. But he always has one moment of match where he just like hits a ball as hard as he can at our defense. And this one, it was right at the final whistle. He like jumped up for a header and like headed it back towards it. And I was like, what are you doing? Ref blows his whistle. It's all fine. But those are the moments with Santos, right? It's between the ears. It's in the Open Cup last year when he could go eat the ball in the corner. Instead, he like blasts a shot over the bar. The goalkeeper puts it down, and then Miami goes and scores, right? So I think that it's more than just pace and power. He does bring that element, but until he can consistently find a way to not just do that, but to actually threaten when he does that, every time he comes on, to me, it's like, get your popcorn, not to see goals, but because you're going to see something crazy, and you just hope that it works out for the best for FC Cincinnati.
Again, difference maker. Ship him to St. Louis. They need one of those guys. He can take the $915,000 off our books, and we'll be a happy city. But hey, I lost it. I was so happy. And also, how did we gloss over Matt Miazga kicking that ball in the goal?
Oh, it's fantastic.
My wife turns to me and goes,
gloss over it.
She goes, that doesn't happen very much, does it? I said, no, that's gonna be on a highlight reel, like on the ESPN bloopers VHS tape in 40 years. That's going to be on that tape. If you had that ESPN bloopers collection tape, please put your name in the show notes. I'll send you a scarf on my wall.
Yeah. And then in true Matt Miazga fashion, you saw how tortured he was by that decision. So this guy is the most competitive person on the team. So that is going to eat him alive for the next few weeks.
Listen, good. I don't want to gloss over this, and here's why. We talked about it with Atlanta and this team taking their foot off the accelerator. We talked about it with Orlando. And if you watch, mistakes happen, but if you watch Miazga's body language before that happens, Murphy plays it back to Roman. Does Miazga do the work to get into an open area, to turn his hips sideways on, to see Murphy? He doesn't do anything. He walks flat-footed, points at Roman, and then when Roman plays him the ball, he takes a look, sees Murphy wide open, but his feet aren't right. So he just tries to bundle it back towards Roman. And that's why it goes in the goal. Again, mistakes happen. I will cut him some slack for that. But the team problem of not staying focused in those moments, I think, continues to be an issue. And I just hope the team gets over it before, one goal could cost them the season, late on.
So we had a question in the chat here from Jose. Miles Robinson gets called up to the U.S. men's national team, but not Matt. Why? He was Defender of the Year last year. I think it goes back to your point there, Coach. I like Matt. I think he's tremendous. I think he does 99.9% of things right, but he has a bonehead moment once every 90 minutes. And at that level, you get owned. And I'm sure there's a lot of other things going on there, him and Greg butting heads, but you saw it in the Gold Cup last year. He had boneheaded moments that you're just like, but then he also has other moments where he's a world-class player.
Well, Suarez has 700 of those moments in his career.
He bites people and he scores 500 goals. So
red card, handball, No, I don't really want to go into it too much, Jose, but there are guys, and Matt's not a guy for that squad. So I'll just leave it at that. You can interpret that how you want.
Hey, Justin, you want to talk about Patrick Schulte?
Yeah, I'll talk about Patrick Schulte. I got on Slack and told everybody that I just don't understand Sean Johnson's inclusion. I know it's a third goalkeeper on the roster, but what does that bring you? He's 35 years old now, 34, 35. What are we doing with that?
This
Is
guy's
that
a closet Columbus Crew fan. He's
I'm
advocating for
not.
Patrick Schulte, and everybody here says
Gaga,
Romans-
Selena,
Okay.
Roman Solitano, somebody. But the point was that Schulte, in my opinion, is somebody that at least deserves the opportunity. I think he's on the Olympic roster, so
think
Nate
his-
quelled my concern for that. So
I think his mic's broken. Everybody, his mic's
oh,
broken.
great. Yeah.
His new mic's broken.
No, it just it boggles my mind that Greg continues to bring in people that it makes no sense going forward. There are teams, this is completely on a tangent, but there are teams that are serious in international competitions that are cutthroat. It means something to be on that team. It means something to be there. It's not about who you came with and all that stuff. It's not kumbaya. We make s'mores during the camp. It's about we go and we compete. England, France. We bring certain guys because they're Vive guys. And that's what Sean Johnson.
Jordan Henderson would beg to differ. He's been making a career with England about being a vibes guy, at least for the last 15 years since past his 40th birthday.
DeAndre Edlin was the team DJ. He's our guy now. Oh, he's muted. Yes, I won. All right, let's roll.
All right, well,
Boweries.
we'll get into it. So I'll just put a pin in the Miazga conversation. I still want him as my center back. One
Every
goal,
day.
one
Every
goal,
day.
one goal in the back of the net. I still think it's one of the best pairings in the league with the Miazga Robinson and Jose. Just if it makes you feel any better, Walker Zimmerman didn't get a call up either. So center backs got kind of turned around a little bit this window from what I thought would happen anyway. Let's see who else do we have? We had another look at Assad. I don't know what to make from him except that he hasn't done anything crazy bad.
No. This is Sunday League soccer. This is the best friend of the best player on the Sunday football team saying, I want my dude here. And they cook. And that's the only guy Assad cooks with, but he cooks well with Acosta. And it's amazing to see over 10 minutes a game. Like, there are some give and goes. I'm like, is that Luca over there? Or is that's Assad? I love seeing that. And of course, Luca poo-poos Assad and like just takes over on the left wing when we get in the attack. Is BS. But I just love seeing I love seeing Assad. He's a veteran of the league. He's exciting to be here. But I think he gives a look. You need to at least acknowledge what he's able to do and help kill off those games. I mean, those seconds he eats up in keeping possession. He might not be the best defender in the world, but I'm very excited to see what he might be able to improve on. Again, this is what Coach was saying earlier. We're not playing with our best. We're not playing the best yet. We still have room to grow, and that's an area for us to grow. And watch over the last third of the season where he's going to be able to create more attacking moments off that left wing. I promise you, stuff's going to happen over there. You just see it. Him cooking more and more if he can stay healthy.
I'm super excited for if FC Cincinnati needs to chase a game, bring in Assad in on the left and pushing Luca over to the right, because we saw right away Luca doesn't ever want to use his right foot. So actually putting him in on the right means he can see more of the field when he's just using his left foot. So then having Assad, a guy who can combine and create some things, he was a key contributor in the third goal in the build-up, just a little combination play, so I think that is the kind of veteran presence that you bring in that actually has a really good purpose, not just depth, not just bring him in late, but hey, when we need a goal with 70 minutes gone, 20 minutes remaining, let's bring him in, swap Luca over, and then let's just go after it.
He cost $89,000. You buy that every friggin' day.
So you've seen enough, because I want to see a little bit more just to see the.
No. I want Luca to stay healthy, and I want to see Luca over there for 90 minutes or 80 minutes. But I'm just saying, like, seeing Assad moving with Acosta more every match is, again, it's that whole build that we see out of our soccer office, our soccer operations that other teams aren't seeing.
All right.
And I hate to toot our own horn, but that's exciting.
Yeah. Well, keep it going, Assad. Keep the play up, and Bryan will give you a whole segment on a future show when you get your big moment.
Hey, Assad fan club. We'll see what's going on.
All righty. I think man of the match is St. Louis's keeper, right? Because this could have been a lot worse. I think I watched a near goal compilation on Reddit that made the MLS subreddit of all of the saves he had to make. FC Cincinnati really put the ball on frame in this one, so that was encouraging to see. Let's turn it over to my man Bryan Waggle, who is our new salary cap expert since his brother's gone, I guess.
That's false. Also, what's false is the MVP of the game was the guy who had a goal and 2 assists, but I'm not going to call you out on that. I just want to bring in a couple things, and Justin and I were talking about this earlier today, just about the ambition of FC Cincinnati, and I guess FC Cincinnati comes into the league, I guess, right at this point of the year at 5th in overall spend in Major League Soccer. I'm trying to get my links up. So we come in at 5th with our salary budget of $18,705,000. You have Inter Miami with God's money. You have Toronto with I don't know the exchange rate, so we're not going to count them. Chicago spending $80 million on Shaqiri, so he doesn't count. And then Nashville at $21 million. So you look at Cincinnati 18, Austin 18, Revolution at 18. That's hilarious. Everybody laugh. No, just the ambition and the smart management of FC Cincinnati. You look at Nashville and you say, oh, $21 million bucks, but they got like $6 million bucks of dead money in guys that they're signed, but they do not do a darn thing. You had Ben Wright talking about, you want to be happy that Nashville's spending 21, but they're spending 21 because they have to overcompensate for the other things. Whereas FC Cincinnati doesn't have a bunch of dead money. I would say the dead money we have is Sergio Santos, and the dude scored on the weekend at 800,000. So be pretty excited. I know there's some weird numbers out there. I think I made a mention of it, like Yuya Kubo is listed at like just under 1.5 on the MLSPA tracker, or on their PDF, but the tracker he's making like 700,000. So we'll see what happens. But you look at the team.
Is that incentives, maybe? Could the difference be incentives?
I heard the yen's strong, so or no, weak. It's weak.
Yeah, the yen is not strong.
It's weak. I'm joking. I love you. Yeah, I actually work for a Japanese company, so it's kind of cool. Acosta, $4.2 million. He's got a big update. But like we have a 30% increase. So I mean that's that $2 million bucks. Yeah, that factors in quite a bit. But I mean you're still seeing the expenses, Boop hitting the whole season cap at 1.7, almost 1.8 million. Robinson almost at 1.6. Miazga 1.5. Kubo maybe 1.4. So we're being ambitious. We're investing in the right areas, and those guys are producing. Like the first 3 seasons, we kept saying, why are we paying these guys like Vanderwerth $700K or whatever, not making any money? You have guys that understand the whole roster build through FC Cincinnati's the front office. A couple other things. You look at the ambition with Major League Soccer. There's some pretty cool Twitter handles out there measuring total spend, combined spending of transfer fees, salaries, guaranteed, all that stuff. FC Cincinnati still in I think 9th place overall in total roster spend with salary transfers. They're spending roughly 28.5 million bucks this year, and that's not even counting Kevin Kelsy and maybe other future additions. Last year we spent 19 million. This year we're at 28.5 million. So that's props to FC Cincinnati's ownership and the ability to go get more guys.
A lot of that would have been the bonuses too, right? From last year, still affecting this year's salary.
Ken Hedger, if you're in the chat. Right now.
And you got and you sell Brandon, and you have a possible Barry also. So I mean, FC Cincinnati's success is bringing in the money, but what Brian's point is FC Carl Linder doesn't have to spend that money. He can bury it. So he's reinvesting it, which is a great sign.
But you're also doubling, you're doubling other teams like St. Louis. Their total spend this year, they sold Giannichini for like $2 million bucks. They're still spending $14 million right now. And we're doubling those jokers. That's embarrassing. If I'm like St. Louis, you're talking about how ambitious we are and things like that. Like that's pretty like New England's spending heads and tails over you guys. You better figure something out. When you have the other teams looking at Cincinnati, it's kind of cool to see, like, how's FC Cincinnati doing things, buying the playmakers, getting like the Orshanos that we're barely covering anything financially on. I think we're covering like $900K for Orsano this year. It's some ridiculous. Now there's going to be a big old check coming their way at some point, but go ahead.
Well, I'm sorry to jump in there. What I find absolutely fascinating is the two of the smallest market teams, RSL and FC Cincinnati, currently are the lowest points per or dollars per point on the whole league right now. I think RSL is at 400,000 per point, and FC Cincinnati is 600,000. And to like put that into perspective, New England at the very bottom is at $22.6 million per point. Teams like Toronto, who's having a great season, $1.4 million per point. So very efficient with the money that they're spending, and obviously it's paying off.
I know we give. Sorry, go ahead, Coach.
No, if you look at the tracker online, not the PDF, so change the U Yakubo to way less of a salary charge. FCC, 4 of the top 7 paid FCC players are defensive players, with Obi Wobodo being in there as a defensive player, because he is a true 6 defensive midfielder, right? And I think just not only spending the money, but spending it across the roster, being smart, building from that defense, but sprinkling in a Lucho Acosta, really great attackers like a Sergio Santos, those guys to really take you over to the next level. Just that smart roster spend. And I joke about Santos, but I really, really am impressed with Albright and company and what they're doing in terms of not just spending Carl's money, but doing it really well.
Yeah, and you have to also call out the development structure of the team. Being able to have guys like Pinto, guys like not Halsey and Keller. They're lower guys, but identifying those lower cost players, having Dado Valenzuela, all 4 of those guys on minimum contracts making impact, allows us to go out and spend more money on Kubo. I think if you could look at like one guy on the FC Cincinnati roster where you look at like, this dude's underpaid, who would you guys target for the production we've got out of him so far? If there's any guy on here besides Orishano who somehow we have on like $90,000.
I would say Roman, but that's the nature of his
almost
contract.
$500,000.
Yeah, but no one else jumps out.
Pavel Buka.
That is who I was going to say.
498,000, 450,000 base salary.
That's not bad for year 1.
That is lapping value right now, especially in that position. I mean, the dude is, I think, progressive passes into dangerous situations. I think Moreno had like 115 last year, and Buka's at like 80 already through like a third of the season. Progressive carries, he's lapped Junior Moreno about like 5 times already. I mean, the dude's still getting his feet wet with Obi. I'm so excited to see how Buka's going to be.
Mm-hmm. What about Ian Murphy? Kenta has Ian Murphy on YouTube.
Yeah, I think, is that not the nature of the contract? I mean, isn't this still his first contract?
Yes, but
he may have gotten an extension.
Is our 4th or 5th center back? Sure.
He's the third
or 4th center back.
Third
or 4th center back.
I think he's solidified number 3. He seems to be Noonan's favorite up there.
Coach, I know you love Ian Murphy. He scares the crap out of me.
Yeah, I really love Ian Murphy, but I also think that he plays like a young player who is a 3rd center back, maybe a 4th, and not a start. Like, he would not be starting on many MLS teams that run 2 center backs. And he's really good at some really good things, but his 1v1 defense, he gets his hips turned the wrong ways too often. We saw it against St. Louis with Jackson being able to come in onto his left. It's not because Murphy didn't have good positioning. It's because Murphy stayed facing the ball too long, then tried to flip and turn Jackson, and Jackson just touched it to his left and had an easy shot. I don't know that it was on frame. We'll call it on frame because I think they did in the stats. But, those little moments are just things that you see. Miles Robinson nearly never does that. When Robinson makes a mistake, it's trying to force a pass up the middle and turning it over and stuff, things that every player in MLS is going to do. But Murphy, I just think, has those growing edges, which is why I love him because of where he is. But I don't think that he is playing beyond where he should be right now.
All right. Well, I didn't see that coming, but I do. I do think he's got number 3. He seems to push Keller out for that spot.
Nick Hagelin.
No, come on. There's no way.
Sorry, sneezed.
I think Nick Hagelin's number 5. He was playing on FCC 2 a week ago.
No, Hagelin will get a start during the Copa America run.
There's something to be said about getting your fitness up.
I'm sure that's a big piece of what was going on, but you can't play all 5 center backs regularly. So, some of them are just going to be bench guys.
We're over an hour, but I just have to say Ian Murphy is the best all-around passing center back that FC Cincinnati has, and I will die on that hill. All around, not all long balls, not just medium.
We can move on now. I just needed somebody to say something nice about him. All right. We play Toronto this week. We're going to just briefly blow by it. Toronto was the home opener 0-0. I think that was still when we were still feeling ourselves out. It'll be interesting to see Toronto. They're coming off a pretty big Canadian rivalry win, if memory serves me correctly. So they're going to be hot going into their place. FC Cincinnati will have to gear up that great road form.
They're fifth. They're fifth in the East.
Yeah, I don't think they're as bad as I thought they were.
They're going to be without Bernardeschi, but Prince Owusu's doing well. Their defense is taking shape. They win a lot of fights. They got a little edginess to them that they didn't have.
It's wild what coaching will do for you.
Mm-hmm. We mentioned it before. Miles Robinson was called up to the U.S. men's national team. Do we foresee any games being missed here, or are we going to have him for everything?
He'll miss Nashville, and then we have
Miami, right?
No, that's later on, right?
I think I saw he won't miss Nashville now.
No, he will. He'll miss Nashville by a day or two. Okay. He'll play Toronto, then he'll fly out from Toronto.
Okay.
Oh, we're talking about the friendlies. Yeah.
All right. Brandon
he'll probably miss San Jose, Philly, New England, depending on Copa America. Yeah, June.
So we're looking at 2 squads, right? There's going to be the Olympic squad as well. Brandon Vasquez got mentioned as a name drop for that. Mm-hmm. That's pretty cool.
Heck yeah.
I don't know what coach is doing, but I'd call up Lucho Acosta if I could.
I think he's waiting on citizenship.
Ah, rats.
I mean, he talked to Joe. He talked to the head man. How can we not get this done, man? Joe Biden, help us out here. Let's get a. Yeah.
If only the ambassador to Kenya could help us out right now.
Right, I know. I don't. That one blows my mind. We have an owner that's an ambassador, and Lucho Acosta got to personally talk to Joe Biden. If that doesn't do it, I don't know what does.
I can't remember who on CST put this out there. But apparently Meg Whitman has relinquished all affiliations and duties to FC Cincinnati while she's in her ambassadorial role. Mm-hmm. So she's not on the MLS board of governors anymore. She's pretty much, she still has her equity stake in the organization, but yeah, she's not physically a part of anything FC Cincinnati at the moment.
Yeah.
The more you know.
It's pretty wild. All right, let's give a big shout out to the winners of the Round 1 Growler Cup. We just started Round 2. If you want to head over to our Patreon and sign up to support CST, but we have a number of people that took it very seriously, and one of them is on this podcast. His name is Justin Blair. Congrats, buddy. You tied for first place with Jackson Fight. And Bob Ryan also 3-way tie for first place. So we're going to have to break that tie later on in the second half of the season. So you guys will all get some points. We'll move you to the playoffs. And now we have started Round 2. So big shout out to everybody who got their picks in early. because I only gave you a day notice on those. But then if you go to our Patreon page right now, you can actually go ahead and fill out the next 4 games if you want to get a jump start, starting with Toronto this weekend. So shout out to everybody who supports us over there. It really keeps the CST bills paid. And we are going to get into these final thoughts. We'll start backwards. Justin, you're up first.
Yeah. So let me flip over here. Yeah, I'm just gonna go with FC Cincinnati's kind of keeping that pace from last year, which is shocking to me. If you read our preseason prediction article, I think it would take longer for FC Cincinnati to get where they are, but right now they're just replace a win from a loss, and they'd be right on the same pace that they were in 2023, which is pretty impressive with all the moving pieces and competing in Continental Championship during that time.
Coach, sorry.
Yeah, thanks, Boston. Thanks, guys, for having me on. I'm excited I could come on a Monday night because, as we talked about off the top of the show, I am finished with school. No more Monday night classes. I'm actually finished with California. I'm heading back to the great swamps of the Queen City. That's how I'm going to feel now that I'm moving back to humidity. And I'm really excited to get to see my beloved FC Cincinnati in person again. The only other thing I'll say really quickly is, since these guys wouldn't let me, wax poetically about how good Dato Valenzuela has been, tune into Talking Tactics this week, where Justin and I are going to break down the St. Louis match, and we'll talk quite a bit about that fluid front attack with Dato and Kubo and Lucho and interchanging positions and all that fun stuff. So you can get that wherever you get your podcasts.
We just don't want to steal your thunder, is all. We want to make sure that you leave something for the fans that want to listen to both shows. All right. And,
Thank you.
Hey, what do you do if you need tickets now? Did you give them up, or do you have to go get in line in the season ticket line again?
No, I did not give them up. They're in holding with, my buddies. So I'm going to have to share them with them, because I can't just say, here, you can have them, and now I want them back. But we have enough tickets to go around. So I think I'll still be able to make it to most of the matches.
All right, good to hear, because I wasn't going to give you any mine. All right, Bryan.
Oh man, I really don't have much. The Nachos at Skyline are back, so that's cool. Coach is coming back, so a lot of joy in the Queen City right now. So can't wait to see you, buddy.
All right, and I will end it with, come on, Lucho Acosta. Why are you getting so many assists? You're tripping me up on my own show, man. Like, there's so many assists to talk about, and they all look the same sometimes. So I blame Lucho. It couldn't possibly be me not doing enough homework. All right, we will end the show there. We want to see you all back next week. We'll have a fun Toronto match to break down, and go watch our other shows this week. There'll be a jersey swap. There'll be a Talking Tactics. Stay tuned on the website. Plenty of information coming down the pike. See you next week.